शिवमास्तु सर्वजगतः परहितनिरता भवन्तु भूतगणाः दोषा प्रयान्तु नाशं सर्वत्र
An animal shelter in Ahmedabad, Western India. This shelter, like many others in India, is run by Jains, followers of Jainism, a religion founded here 3,000 years ago. This shelter is a remarkable witness to Jain principles. For Jainism teaches the most rigorous adherence to non-violence of any world religion. Some of these animals were saved from the slaughterhouse by Jains. Others were given by farmers at the end of their useful lives. None of these animals is ever killed, however great its apparent suffering. Each is allowed to die a natural death. Mahatma Gandhi, the great teacher of non-violence, lived in Ahmedabad for 12 years. He was strongly influenced by Jainism. Yet the practice of peace is one of degree. Even the Mahatma didn't go far enough for some Jains. Jain monks and nuns represent the ideal to which all Jains aspire. They aim to live a life free from all violence and achieve it as far as humanly possible. Some sects even cover the mouth with a cloth mask, lest they accidentally kill an insect by breathing it in. Jainism has no personal god. Instead, it presents to its followers an ideal achieved long ago by enlightened souls who've gained liberation. Each person is responsible for his own salvation. The monks and nuns point the path to liberation, or moksha, and so are highly venerated. These monks of the Swetambara sect, led by Padmasaga Suri, their acharya or teacher, are feted by their followers as they arrive in Ahmedabad. Monks and nuns walk from town to town, expounding to their lay followers the teachings of Mahavir, the founder of Jainism.
अहिंसा के विषय में बहुत ही सूक्ष्म रूप से महावीर ने निर्देश दिया है। हमारे यहाँ मन, वचन और कर्म तीनों प्रकार से अहिंसा के पालन का आदेश है। किसी भी व्यक्ति नहीं परंतु प्राणी मात्र, चाहे वो छोटे से छोटा कीड़ी हो या हाथी हो या इंसान हो या जानवर हो, किसी भी प्राणी के लिए मन में कभी उसका बुरा नहीं सोचना। सोचना मात्र हिंसा है, गलत सोचना ही नहीं। गलत कभी किसी आत्मा को अप्रिय लगे, दुख लगे, बुरा लगे, ऐसा कभी अपने शब्द का प्रयोग करना नहीं वचन से। और अपने शरीर इस काया से कभी किसी आत्मा का अहित हो जाए, किसी भी आत्मा को शरीर के द्वारा चोट पहुंचे, ऐसा कोई कार्य इस शरीर से करना नहीं। मनसा, वचसा और कर्मणा।
Jains have survived over the millennia as a tiny island within a sea of Hinduism because they form such a tightly knit community. Their life is symbolized by the swastika, whose 4 points represent the 4 pillars of the community: monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen. Ahmedabad has one of India's largest Jain communities. The city is a major industrial center, and Jains are prominent in business and industry here. As their religion prevents them from taking up trades involving physical violence, business has often been their road to success. Although India's 5 million Jains make up less than 1% of the country's population, their influence is more powerful than their numbers suggest. The rigor of their religion is an example to the wider Hindu community, and their wealth gives them great practical influence. At any one time, there may be 20 or more groups of Jain monks and nuns staying in the city. They're dependent upon the generosity of their followers. 3 times a day, they go begging for their food. For the householder, it's a privilege to give to the monks and nuns, a way of earning religious merit. The rules of conduct for monks and nuns are strict. They must always walk barefoot, taking care not to tread on insects. They may not touch a member of the opposite sex. Even brushing against a small boy would require a nun to perform an act of penance. They're strict vegetarians, and they vow to eat and drink the minimum needed to keep alive. For eating too involves violence, because of the number of microorganisms inevitably killed by swallowing and digesting. Each Jain temple has accommodation for the monks or nuns who come to preach for a few days and then move on. They're not allowed by their vows to remain in one place for long, except during the rainy season. There is no sharp divide between the spiritual and the worldly realms. Monks often advise businessmen how to conduct their affairs, to comply with the law of non-violence. The tone is familiar, the influence considerable. Jainism recognizes 24 jinas, or spiritual victors, who've achieved moksha, or liberation. The last jina, Mahavir, a contemporary of the Buddha, lived around 550 BC. All ancient Indian philosophical traditions accept the law of karma. Our lot in this life, our suffering or joy, is the direct result of our actions in previous lives. We must endure suffering now to atone for our past misdeeds. We shall continue to go through endless rebirths until we extricate ourselves from this cycle. Humans achieve this through a path of purification. But even animals have a soul which can attain liberation. Immoral or violent acts produce particles which cling to the soul and enchain it. Moral, non-violent deeds help to liberate it. All living creatures, from flies to men, are subject to this law of karma. Mahatma Gandhi, on this question of the inevitability of suffering, came into conflict with the Jain community. He lived in an ashram in Ahmedabad, and here he allowed the mercy killing of a calf. He argued that putting the calf out of its misery was a non-violent act, not a violent one, and it was the attitude of the heart that was crucial. The incident was controversial. From the Jain perspective, Gandhi had acted from emotion and not from acceptance of the law of karma. The calf had not been undergoing needless pain, but inevitable suffering. It had to suffer for its past misdeeds, either in this life or in its next reincarnation. Looking after old and sick animals has been a Jain tradition for thousands of years. They run animal shelters or panjrapols throughout India. The recent drought and famine in Gujarat has doubled the number of animals in this shelter. Here the animals are looked after with tenderness. Cows have fans and are propped up with pillows of hay if they're too ill to move. A veterinary surgeon comes in several times a week to treat those that are seriously ill and to confirm death. Atmaram Sutaria is managing trustee of this shelter, which his father founded. In the 1920s, his father led the delegation which had protested to Gandhi.
You see, every suffering is because of the past actions, as we believe. So there